Details: U.S. President Joe Biden gave his first address from the White House post the Kamalaharris defeat to Donald Trump in the U.S. presidential elections. While the president in his brief speech announced the date of power transfer and ensured a smooth transfer of power.
Thank you. Please. Thank you. It's good to see you all. Particularly good to see my granddaughter sitting in the front row here. Hi, Finn. How are you, honey? For over 200 years, America has carried on the greatest experiment in self-government in the history of the world. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. We're the people. The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much: her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. You know, the struggle for the soul of America, since our very founding, has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today. I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been a historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans. Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work done, changing people's lives in rural communities and communities that are in real difficulty, because it takes time to get it done. And so much more. It's going to take time, but it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done and will get done based on the way the legislation was passed. and it's truly historic. You know, we're leaving behind the strongest economy in the world. I know people are still hurting, but things are changing rapidly. Together, we've changed America for the better. Now we have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. That's the responsibility we have to the American people. Look, folks, you all know it.
In a dialogue in Sochi, Russian President Putin said, "We are working in nuclear energy very well. We are developing nuclear power plants in India. We have tremendous respect for PM Modi's idea, Make in India. We are ready to invest in that. Well, Russia is one of the largest investor, $20 million. We are prepared to increase it in the same way."
Tremendous respect for the idea of Prime Minister Modi. India is our natural partner and ally for decades. We are building nuclear power plants in India. We're not simply selling to India. We're not simply selling our armaments, but we're developing weapon systems together. BrahMos system is very well known.
You have met Prime Minister Modi several times in the last few months. Prime Minister Modi at one point of time mentioned to you that this should not be an era of wars. How do you see that statement? How do you interpret that statement? What is the meaning of that statement for you? That's one. Secondly, if you could also tell us in this concept of Eurasian security, what role do you see for India? And thirdly, in this changed geopolitical environment, and you also mentioned about the importance of civilizations, civilizational values, Russia being a civilization state, India being a civilization state. What are the new areas in which India and Russia can work together?
India is our natural partner and ally for decades. It has been so for decades, and I think everyone knows fully well what kind of role was played by the Soviet Union and Russia in India acquiring its independence, the way we supported the Indian nation for decades. Throughout that time, we've built a unique, in its quality and level of trust relations with the Indian nation, and I can say it directly in this case, and the way we feel and the way we understand coming from our Indian friends, there is an overall national consensus about the development of relations with Russia, with our country. And using this basis, we're developing our relations with India in all dimensions. That applies to the economy. It's showing good growth rate in different dimensions as well. For example, in energy, we are prepared, besides oil supply, and the supply has increased manifold to the Indian market. But we can talk about possible LNG supply. We're working in nuclear energy very actively. We are building nuclear power plants in India. We have tremendous respect for the idea of Prime Minister Modi. Make in India, his call to make in India, and we are prepared to invest in that. Take energy, for example. One of the largest foreign investments of $20 billion is the Russian investment. We're prepared to increase it in the same vein. Naturally, now we need to think about new technologies, and we're prepared to do that. At the last meeting, His Excellency Prime Minister noted that Indian producers of agri-produce tremendously need a greater increase in fertilizers. We have done that, and we are prepared to increase our supply. I mean the needs of Indian agricultural sector. There are other needs as well. India is a great country, the largest in terms of population, 1.5 billion people. Additional growth of 10 million per year. It is growing very quickly. It is leading in economic growth among major economies, 7.4% GDP growth per year, I think. And India is one of those countries whose growth will be greater than even well-developing countries of today. Therefore, our vision of what and how and in what spheres and at what speed of development in our relations, it is all proceeding from the reality of today. And the reality is that our cooperation is increasing manifold. Maybe our trade is not as high as with China, but it's almost $60 billion at 58 and something. And it's increasing every year. This year, over the past 9 months of this year, we see the same trend. As for solving most acute crises, we are very thankful and we have great respect for the ideas of His Excellency Prime Minister Modi. He expresses his concerns about conflicts in Ukraine as well, and he proposes his ideas how to settle the conflicts. Naturally, we keep abreast of these proposals, and naturally we're not only thankful to His Excellency for his attention to these issues and for his proposals as well, for the way, for the fact what he's doing in this regard. In general, I think that our relations with India, we're developing at high rate, and we have every reason to believe that using
Lebanon's army reported that an Israeli drone strike targeted a car at an army checkpoint in the southern port city of Sidon, killing 3 people and injuring 7 others, including UN peacekeepers, while the attack has heightened tensions in the region, drawing condemnation and a concern over the safety of peacekeeping forces stationed in Lebanon as a part of the United Nations interim force in Lebanon. While the identities of the victims and the specific circumstances surrounding the strike remain under investigation. While the incident marks a significant escalation in cross-border violence between Israel and Lebanon, which has been a point of long-standing tension.
Okay, wait, we're on. عمل معروف قلنا لك ما بقى تصور bro siapa PIO tolong kontrol jangan ada macam ni sir apa tadi apa jangan ambil foto
While arriving in Budapest for a summit of European leaders, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte expressed his eagerness to work once again with US President-elect Donald Trump. While Rutte credited Trump for contributing to the success of increasing NATO members' GDP contributions to the alliance, which now averages over 2%, while this marks a significant achievement in NATO's defense spending goals, which Trump had pushed for during his presidency.
I want to congratulate again President Trump. When he was president, he was the one in NATO who stimulated us to move over the 2%. And now, also thanks to him, NATO, if you take out the numbers of the US for a moment, is above the 2%. And I think very much that is his doing, his success, and we need to do more. We know this. Today, very much on my mind in this meeting is what is happening now with North Koreans being deployed in Russia. And what we see more and more is that North Korea, Iran, China, and of course Russia are working together against Ukraine. Russia is delivering the latest technology into North Korea in return for North Korean help with the war against Ukraine. And this is a threat not only to the European part of NATO but also to the US mainland. And that means that in the Pacific and
Well, Germany's coalition government collapsed dramatically last night after Chancellor Olaf Scholz fired his finance minister, leader of the pro-business Free Democrats. Well, the end of the three-party coalition leaders, Europe's largest economy, followed a marathon of crisis meetings that have lasted for weeks.
Collapsed dramatically last night after Chancellor Olaf Scholz fired his finance minister and leader of the pro-business party, the Free Democrats. The end of the three-party coalition leading Europe's largest economy followed a marathon of crisis meetings that have lasted for weeks. Christian Lindner and his party had pushed for changes in the country's economic policy, rejecting tax increases and changes to Germany's strict self-imposed limits on government debt. The other coalition partners, Chancellor Scholz's Social Democrats and the Green Party, want to see massive state investment and rejected proposals to cut welfare programs. The Chancellor is seeking a vote of confidence in January that he said might lead to early elections by March at the
Well, Peruvian police arrested Agustin Lozano, while the head of the country's soccer federation, as a part of ongoing investigation into fraud, extortion, money laundering and other criminal activities. Lozano's arrest marks the second time in recent years that a Peruvian soccer federation president has been detained, while his predecessor was also investigated in 2018 for alleged involvement in two murders, although he was later absolved of the charges. Well, Lozano's arrest has sent shockwaves through the Peruvian soccer community as the investigation continues to unfold, while the charges against him involve serious allegations that could have widespread implications for the country's soccer governance. Well, the case highlights ongoing concerns about corruption within the management of sports organizations in the region.
Solamente quiero pedirle a mi familia tranquilidad, a las personas que confían en mi persona, mucha tranquilidad, y espero que se haga justicia, espero que todo se aclare, y yo solamente quiero tranquilidad para mi familia y para las personas que confían en el trabajo que he venido realizando. Solamente quiero pedirle a mi familia tranquilidad, a las personas que confían en mi persona, mucha tranquilidad, y espero que se haga justicia, espero que todo se aclare.
India has again condemned the recent attacks on the Hindu community in Chittagong, Bangladesh, and said that such actions would only create more tensions in the community. But the remarks by Randeep Jaiswal, spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, came while addressing the weekly media briefing in New Delhi.
चिटगांव में भड़काऊ बातें की गई, सोशल मीडिया पे वो भड़काऊ बातें हिंदू समुदाय के लेकर थी, उसके कारण वहाँ पर झगड़ा हुआ। वहाँ पर वहाँ पर जो हिंदू समुदाय के लोग हैं उन पर अटैक हुआ, उन पर लूटमारी की गई, उनको धमकाया गया। और ये सब चीज़ें, इन सब चीज़ों के पीछे जो एक्सट्रीमिस्ट वर्ग के लोग हैं, जो उग्रवादी उस टाइप के लोग हैं, उनका हाथ है। और हमारा ये बड़ा ये इस पहल से, इस प्रकार की चीज़ों से वहाँ पर समाज में जो बैलेंस है वो बिगड़ सकता है, कम्युनल टेंशन बढ़ सकता है। तो हमारा आग्रह है और वहाँ के सरकार से कि वो कदम उठाए ताकि ये जो एक्सट्रीमिस्ट वर्ग के लोग हैं उनको कंट्रोल किया जाए, उन पर एक्शन लिया जाए। और जो वहाँ पर हिंदू समुदाय के लोग हैं और माइनॉरिटी वर्ग के लोग हैं उनको सुरक्षा प्रदान किया जाए। ये उनकी खास जिम्मेवारी है कि सुरक्षा उनको दिया जाए। काफ़ी सारे वीडियो हमने देखे हैं, अभी आप लोगों ने देखा होगा सोशल मीडिया में, काफ़ी चल रहा है। वहाँ पर लूटपाट हुई, उनको धमकाया गया, उनको मारा गया। ये निंदनीय है।
Well, Chinese President Xi Jinping congratulated US President-elect Donald Trump on winning the US elections. Well, President Xi Jinping pointed out that history has shown us that cooperation between China and United States will benefit both sides and that fighting will hurt both, reported media. Well, a stable, healthy and sustainable China-US relationships is in line with the common interest of the two countries and the expectations of international community, narrated Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson.
习近平主席已向美国当选总统特朗普致贺。习近平主席指出，历史昭示我们，中美合则两利，斗则俱伤。一个稳定、健康、可持续发展的中美关系，符合两国共同利益和国际社会的期待。
谢谢发言人。路透社提问，GCNM 报道，习主席
希望双方秉持相互尊重、和平共处、合作共赢的原则，加强对话沟通，妥善管控分歧，拓展互利合作，走出一条新时期中美正确相处之道，造福两国，惠及世界。关于你的第一个问题，首先我们不回答这个假设性的问题，但是作为原则，我愿意重申，贸易战不会有赢家，也不利于世界。关于台湾问题，台湾问题是中美关系中最重要、最敏感的问题。中国坚决反对任何形式的美台官方往来，这一立场是一贯明确的。美国政府应当恪守一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报，慎重处理涉台问题，以免严重损害中美关系和台海和平稳定。
Republican candidate Donald Trump won the 2024 presidential elections, defeating Kamalaharris. Russian President Putin congratulated Donald Trump on his election victory in his first public comments, while Putin praised Donald Trump for showing courage when a gunman tried to assassinate him. Well, he said that Trump's remark about Ukraine and restoring relations with Russia deserved attention. Earlier, Putin dismissed Western media claims that Trump was a sort of Russian agent of influence. Donald Trump won the U.S. presidential election for a second term, defeating Kamala Harris. Well, Trump's victory marked one of the most remarkable comebacks in American electoral history. He is the first president since Grover Cleveland 132 years ago to be evicted from the White House and return to it.
He is a courageous person.
Thank you very much. Wow.
Let us resume contacts and hold discussions.
Hey, look what happened. Is this crazy?
When there was an attempt on his life, I was impressed. He is a courageous person.
If any of the Western leaders want to resume contacts, I have always said, and I want to say it again, we have nothing against it. As you wish, let us resume contacts and hold discussions.
After his political support catered to Donald Trump's recent U.S. election win, tech tycoon Elon Musk has turned his focus north. Well, Musk, known for his cutthroat opinions, hasn't shied away from foretelling the downfall of Justin Trudeau's leadership. Responding to a social media user urging him to help Canada get rid of Trudeau, Musk asserted he will be gone. Well, Musk's comments posted on media follows his criticism of Germany's government, which he labeled as a socialist. While Trudeau's leadership faces significant challenges ahead of Canada's 2025 election amid his declining popularity.
Take over, Elijah. Take over. USA! USA! Forward!
The day after Trump swept to a resounding victory in the U.S. presidential election, European leaders met in Budapest to convey messages to Donald Trump. Speaking of the current situation in the European Union and amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, Macron said Europe can't be herbivore anymore. He said EU to become omnivore instead. Well, Donald Trump's victory has prompted that it could downgrade Washington's participation in NATO, forcing European countries to ramp up defense spending. Well, said Macron, it's simple, the world is made up of herbivores and carnivores. Well, if we decide to remain herbivores, the carnivores will win.
Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you very much. Wow.
Those were the latest updates in World Bulletin. Keep watching CVR News English. This is Havila Kottapalli. Have a good day.